Okay, everybody. I have something really cool to tell you about. If you haven't heard yet about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain here. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one single place. Now, the way that you can do this is you got to download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm, and then you can get started. It's really fun. We just switched over recently here at All Too Real 2, and I'm enjoying it so far. So be sure to check it out and let us know what you think. Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. I don't know what that was. Anyways, my name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
It's Matthew Quicksilver Maximoff.
That's an interesting name.
Yeah, it is.
Is that Sokovian?
It is, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm getting back to my Sokovian roots.
Yes.
Because I'm one half Sokovian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the other half is human. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Anyways, today on the show, we are covering a very special episode of a TV show that had an interesting guest appearance in it. And, you know, of course, we are talking about the episode of Family Ties where Tom Hanks was playing the alcoholic uncle.
It's one of the best episodes.
Yeah, wait, that's not what we're doing. So, we are talking about the 5th episode of Wandavision, the Disney Plus brilliant television series.
Yes.
This episode is titled On a Very Special Episode, ellipses. Or ... for those people that don't know what ellipses are. Anyways, and it was directed by Matt Shakman, like all the other episodes of this season. It was written by Peter Cameron and Mackenzie Dorr. And, so, this was a very, very interesting and good episode. Longer than the previous ones, actually, too, because they're basically telling two stories now. First off, before we get going, I asked online earlier today what people thought of the episode, and I got a few responses here from some of our listeners, or potential listeners. Kermit Merle Key had said, he says, "What is publicly known as Wanda is a key figure in the next Doctor Strange movie, Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, and that the next Spider-Man movie will feature characters from Sam Raimi's films." Okay, I'm going to kind of paraphrase what he's saying here, and He's basically saying, which most people think, that the fact that the surprise in this episode means that we're going to basically be creating the multiverse and bring in some new characters and stuff from other multiverses in the Marvel universes.
Yep.
My friend Amber Dawn said, Relf has got to be Mephisto, meaning the unseen husband of Agnes. And then she's saying, is the recast possibly a Skrull? Who knows? Jeff Avery said, OMG, that was so awesome. I hope the ending is everything it pretends to be. And my father, Mike Cullen, said, I have not watched the last two, plan to watch them this weekend. Just wanted to share that. Okay. Anyways.
It's good. He gets to watch them, back to back. So
yeah,
that's good.
In this episode, what happens here, Matt?
Oh man, so many things happen in this episode. It's really jam packed. I love the people who are complaining about the first two episodes. I'm like, okay, well, hold on to your hats because we're getting so much information. What's that?
Oh, I said yeah.
Oh yeah. We're getting so much information going on from, like you said, two different stories now. What's going on inside Westview and what's going on outside Westview. So, as you said the last couple of weeks, your suspicions of Mr. Is it Haywood or Hayward?
Hayward.
Hayward are seeming to come true, that he seems like he's kind of not on the side of Wanda or anyone that has powers or abilities. He's taken a very antagonistic approach to Wanda. He basically just thinks that she's the, quote, prime victimizer, was his words, to describe her. And anytime James Wood, anyone else, tried to offer a little bit of nuance, he would just kind of look at them like with disgust almost in his face. Like, oh, well, she became a terrorist, they worked for Hydra and stuff like that, and James Woo was like, well, that's kind of oversimplification of events, but sure. And like he just looks at him like with so much hatred in his face when James Woo says that, like how dare you contradict me, like, and so we got that kind of story developing now. We got the antagonistic, dude on the outside that pretty much just wants to kill anyone that's got abilities or powers or whatever. And then on the inside, the Vision is becoming more and more like cognizant of what's going on. Each episode, he gets a little bit more understanding about who he is and what's going on in his world, and he gets more and more perplexed and frustrated, actually, because he doesn't remember his life before this. Like, he just remembers getting married, and that's it. He doesn't know anything about what's going on. So it kind of starts off, with them talking to Monica Rambeau about what happened. Then it goes into the 80s type of episode now, which lots of weird symbolism in that as well. So I'll try to make it, concise here, but basically they're trying to get the twins to sleep, and they're crying, and Wanda, asks Vision to go get their binkies, and then when he leaves, she's trying to use magic to put them to sleep, but it won't work, and there's a lot of interesting lines in this episode that are very symbolic about Wanda and what's going on. She says, why won't you do what I want? That's interesting right there. Not why don't you listen to me? Why don't you do what I want? That's, implies that she's controlling things, and some people have speculated that because they're her kids, they're not really under her control, like, Vision and all the other people are in the town. Agnes has popped over a lot more times in this episode than she has in the previous 3. I mean, she's really taking on a very overseen role, like, in this episode. Like Vision has even pointed out a few times in the episode, like, it always seems that she pops in right at the exact correct moment with the right item that we need or whatever, at that precise moment. And I'll stop in a second, but there's this moment that was really, really strange where Agnes comes in and she's wearing like her aerobics outfit and stuff like that, and she's like, "Oh, I heard that the twins are having trouble sleeping or whatever." And Vision's like, "How would you know that?" And then she's like, kind of pauses for a second. She's like, "My ears." And he's like, "Oh, okay," or whatever. And then she's talking to Wanda about, whether or not, she can have a go with the kids, try to get them to go to sleep. And things really aren't going to plan. And like, Agnes just kind of stops and she's like, "Oh, do you want me to come in again?" And Vision's like, "What?" And he's like, "Do you want me to take it from the top?" And then, like, for a second, see, that's the brilliance of the show, is that it never lets you know who's afraid of who. So, like, you can sort of see it from both perspectives, that Wanda, because the way Agnes says certain things, they sound more like statements than they do as questions. So when she says, like, "You want me to take it from the top," that could be seen as her asking Wanda for permission to redo the thing, or it could almost be seen as a threat of, like, "You're not playing along. Do you want me to take this from the top?" Like, we got to get this shit done, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then she says, "You want me to hold the children." It wasn't a question; it was a statement. And then Wanda looks kind of afraid, and she's like, "Vision, why don't we let Agnes, hold it?" So it's almost, I don't know, like, that was a really kind of suspenseful moment that really only lasted like a minute, like a second or whatever. But and then Vision's kind of like, he's like, "Can you come over here, Wanda?" And he starts talking to her. He's like, "Didn't you see what was that all about?" And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "You didn't just see what I saw right there? Like, Agnes acting really weird." And she's like, "Oh, it's no big deal." And just, anyway, yeah. It's just one weird thing about this episode. What do you think? Or what else happened?
So, like, we have the opening credits, which are very Family Ties meets Growing Pains meets Full House inspired. Because this is a basically 1980s, early 90s kind of setting here. So it's just interesting. We get a Full House reference, which is cool because Elizabeth Olsen's sisters were on that show.
Right.
The opening credits had some interesting lyrics as well. And it started out with, "You wander the world with a vision of what life could be, but then the years come and teach you to just wait and see. Forces may try to pull us apart, but nothing can faze me if you're in my heart. Crossing our fingers, singing a song, we're making it up as we go along," which is interesting. Through the highs and the lows, we'll be wrong. We're making it up as we go along. Yet again, they say that again. And there will be days we won't know which way to go, but we'll take it higher. You're all I desire. When the going gets tough, when push comes to shove, we're making it up because we've got love. Baby, we've got WandaVision. So, and it sounds very much like one of these old theme songs that were written by, like Steve Dorff, who is Stephen Dorff's father. He wrote a bunch of those type of theme songs, and he's a Facebook friend of mine, so I just think it was kind of inspired by one of his things. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. Anyways, it's just interesting that he that those lyrics are kind of just, kind of pointing out, like, what's going on in the show in a way. It's just probably the best theme song we've had so far. And the best opening credits. And we see in the opening credits we see, like, it's kind of a, like I said, it was inspired by, like, Family Ties and Growing Pains and stuff, and it was like we got these pictures of the characters growing up and everything. Yeah. But prior to that, though, the kids did age.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of stuff. Also, too, in the credits, right, did you notice that there was, like, a paintbrush coloring Vision first?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, the paintbrush was being, like, controlled by Wanda's telekinetic powers.
Yes.
And I noticed that it colored him first, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first person she brought back to life or whatever.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was interesting.
Also, too, it's so interesting, isn't it? Like, all this symbolic cool stuff. But also, too, I forgot to mention earlier when I was saying what happened at the beginning. So Wanda actually broke in to the facility that was holding Vision's body.
Yeah.
And not to be gross, but they actually took his body apart to, like, experiment on it, I guess. Like, there's literally pieces of him.
Yeah.
So we were joking earlier before about, like her reanimating his corpse, but it's worse than that. She had to, like, put him back together.
Yeah.
Like,
she's
which is like gotta be super super traumatizing. I mean, on just so many levels of hopefully.
But you've never had that happen in any relationship. I was saying you've never had that happen in any relationships you've been in where you've had to put together the corpse of your former lover or anything. Oh.
Nope.
Okay, just making sure.
I can fortunately say that I have not had to do that. I can say that I'm very fortunate. But which is interesting, right? So Dr. or Mr. Hayward or whatever he is, that piece of shit dude.
Director.
He's kind of ramping up. Yes, director. He's kind of ramping up to be one of the show's villains, I think. Or they could do another twist where he actually is a good guy. He's just angry and he's getting too mean or whatever, type of thing. Sometimes movies and shows do that thing too, where the person just angry and they want to make people safe, so they're taking too strong of measures, whatever type of thing. Who knows? We'll see. Who knows? He could be Mephisto even. Who knows? We don't know. We still have, 3 more episodes? I don't know.
Anything could happen. He could be a white bunny rabbit.
He could. I mean, hell. Well, hey, she could be Scratch because Agnes had a pet rabbit named Mr. Scratchy or something like that.
Oh, okay.
In the second episode, I think. And get this, Scratch, I forgot which language it was, but that actually was the word for the devil in one of the language. I don't know if it was Old English or something.
Huh.
So that's another interesting thing about the devil and Mephisto and all that kind of shit. Anyway, so it turned out that she actually broke in, and this has only been going on for 9 days, but this has not been going on for a long time, by the way. So timeline was 9 days ago in the show.
And this is only a couple weeks after the return, the blip or whatever you want to call it, of the people. So yeah.
So trying to put that in perspective, like after Endgame, everything that happens in Endgame, literally 2 weeks later, this happens to Wanda.
Yeah.
It's like Jesus. And also too, you got to put that in perspective that when she was gone for 5 years, she didn't know she was gone for 5 years. So from her perspective, all of this stuff has happened within 2 weeks. Killing Vision and then having Thanos reverse time.
Yeah.
And then killing all over again. And then her being brought back. All of this in her mind is happened in 2 weeks. Yeah. So she's extremely traumatized, extremely mentally ill. She's fraying. Her mind is completely fraying. Anyway, so she takes back his corpse and obviously puts it back together somehow and brings his consciousness back to life, but with the price that he doesn't remember who he is outside of Westview. That's his whole history is there. And then, so I just want to bring that up because she did actually break in to a thing. But the interesting part though about that's what I forgot to say is that Director Hayward goes, she broke in here. This is and James Woo goes, well, that's against the Sokovia Accords. Vision had it in his living will that he did not want to be brought back from the dead. He didn't want to be anyone's weapon. And they're like, yeah, that's right. It's like, well, wait a minute though. They were already experimenting on his body as she stole it, and then no one seemed to think that was weird. Like, well, the sword itself is experimenting on Vision. Wouldn't that also go against
exactly? See, that's what I'm saying. It's like they're trying to make you think maybe sword are bad. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's hard to say. Or at least under Hayward they are. Which I saw something online too about Hayward. The letters in the name Hayward, if you take a couple out, you can take the letters out of it and rearrange it to spell Hydra.
Whoa! Oh wow!
So that just could be a randomness, but I'm just saying.
Could be, but a lot of the stuff is yeah. Oh, also too, just really quick before you jump in. So
yeah,
remember, they do the recap, of what happens in the last episode and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so they changed something this time. They did the scene again where Vision walks in from episode 3 when he has that really awkward conversation with Herb and Agnes outside.
Yeah.
And he walks in, and he goes, "Where's Geraldine?" And she goes, "Oh, she left, honey. She had to rush home." But this time, it said she didn't belong here. So that was interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I don't know. Usually TV shows will do a recap, and they'll use a different cut, but they usually are saying the same line. They'll just say it a little differently. Well, she said a completely different line. She said, "Oh, she left. She didn't belong here." And so that's kind of interesting. Could that be a sense of Wanda is rewriting what she said in that moment to make it even more blatant?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Anyway, there's a lot of this whole show is just full of Easter eggs. If that's your thing, this show is literally for you. It's you go and analyze this stuff for hours.
Yes, it is my thing because I'm the Easter Bunny.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Oh, shit, I shouldn't tell you that.
Oh, okay. Well, oh well.
No, So yeah. Just let you know, the weekend of Easter, I might not be able to record a podcast because I got a lot of candy to give the kids and stuff.
To do, yeah,
a lot of work to do.
Right.
Grow out my big floppy ears and wait, what? So anyways, after the so before the credits or whatever, like I said, the boys grow up to 5 years old. This is after Agnes was trying to help get them to sleep, and she had sprayed lavender on them. And lavender has some, holistic remedies and stuff like that. So it could be something to do with witchcraft and everything too. Possibly. Because they suddenly aged. So later on in the episode, we see the 5-year-old boys in front of the sink, and they're washing a dog that they found. The boys asked to keep it, and then they try to figure out a name for the dog at one point, and he goes over and tries to he messes with an electrical outlet, and we see sparks and everything. And so Agnes, who shows up with a doghouse out of nowhere, like you do, and she suggests the name Sparky, and Sparky was the name of Vision's dog in the comic books, which was a robotic dog. So,
Mm.
yeah, a green robotic dog. So, yeah, they're taking the name from the comic books, which is cool. Vision and Wanda say that they can't that they probably can't keep the dog unless they are 10 years old. And so the boys age themselves, or at least one of them ages them. And it's not Wanda doing it, it's the boys aging themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they are sentient beings who know what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
They're separate from being controlled by Wanda or anybody else. So, which is interesting. So that means that they are real. They're not just some random Westview kids or something,
Right, yeah.
So they really are Wanda's kids. In that scene, though, Wanda almost revealed her abilities to Agnes, which concerned Vision. So Vision is getting very concerned throughout this whole episode because he's noticing things going on. Doobity-doo. Doobity-doo.
You do, there you go.
Yeah, because that happened. There's the boys, like I said, they aged up to 10 years old. Then we cut to a scene a little bit where Vision is at his computer work job, and they're all excited about this electronic mail because they have the internet now, and there's an email from Sword that reveals the situation in Westview and talks about the Maximoff anomaly. And they're all reading it, and everybody's laughing and stuff like that. Vision turns off the computer using his powers, and he wakes up Norm with his powers as well. And Norm starts to worry about things, and he says that he's worried that he needs to find his phone so he can call his sister, who's taking care of their father, who is sick. And then he starts to say, "You need to stop her. She's controlling us," or something of that nature. Anyways, that's kind of interesting because he doesn't say who she is,
right?
And Vision even asks who she is. So, I mean, we're all assuming it's Wanda, but who knows? What happens after that, Matt?
Oh man, so. Yeah, so much stuff. It's hard to remember everything. Okay, so when that's going on, Norm is like, he's really distraught. So then Vision just kind of puts him back, back under the spell or whatever. And he makes like some crack joke about like, if I send an email, what kind of stamp would I use or something like that. And he's like, technology. And then right at that, Wanda's having a conversation with the kids, like saying that like, her and their dad aren't on the same page right now, but it's okay. They'll get back on track or whatever. And then all of a sudden, Sparky starts barking at the door, and Wanda has this weird premonition. So she goes out, tells the kids to stay inside. No, of course, they don't listen. And then she goes outside and sees a drone out there talking to her, and it's Monica Rambeau's talking to her and saying I just want to talk. We're not here to hurt you. We want to know what's going on. And then Director Hayward, though, of course, has the drone armed and tells someone else to fire on her. And they do. And the screen gets all fuzzy and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden, it says there's a breach near the perimeter. And then we see Wanda actually come out of Westview. And she's wearing her red outfit that she does in all the Avenger movies. And then her Sokovian accent comes back all of a sudden. and she is, I mean, beyond angry. She's carrying the drone. Drone's all red and shit like that from her powers, and she just chucks it at them, and she goes, "Is this yours?" And then Monica walks up, and she's like, "Oh, you're still here." And then she's like about to use her powers against her again. And then Monica talks her down a little bit, trying to understand what's going on. And yeah, Wanda's like, "This is your only warning. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone." And Director Hayward is, escalating the situation, of course, saying you got an entire town under hostage, which is true. And you can't blame us for wanting to, stop you or whatever. And Monica's telling her, well, what can we give you? How can we help? And she's like, I already have what I want. What could you possibly give me?
And no one's taking it away from me again.
Again, yeah. And then she telekinetically makes all the soldiers draw their guns on Director Hayward, and then interestingly, which is, some people brought this up, this is what Magneto does in one of the X-Men movies, where, and in the comic, one of the series, Magneto is her father, so that's interesting for what happens later on in this episode. That's okay. Anyway, so yeah. Do
you want to take a break really quick here, Matt, and come back?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can come back and talk more about this episode. We'll be right back, folks.
All right.
What is Gen X? What is the silent generation? What do generations have in common? Hi, I'm Trish the Dish from the Gen X Voice podcast, and I invite you to listen to conversations I have with folks from different generations, backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences in an attempt to see what connects rather than divides us. Even though Gen X has been called slackers, Karens, or not mentioned at all in some cases, we are the bridge generation, so I feel compelled to do my part to destroy ageism by bringing all these voices together. And, as a bonus, each guest gets to answer some 80s questions at the end of each show. So download and listen to Gen X Voice today on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and let's see how much we have in common after all.
And we are back.
Backpack. We are a backpack.
We are the backpack kid. Anyways, some interesting things that happened in this episode too that we didn't bring up were in the credits. You noticed some things here, Matt. What did you notice in those?
Okay, well, for one thing, they actually show Vision growing up, having a childhood, which he didn't, in reality. They show, pictures of him, in, classroom with, a ruler, or him as a baby. But also, too, they're showing family photos where they're all, dressed up in Halloween costumes or, a Thanksgiving costume. And it seems like progressively Vision looks more and more unhappy during these pictures. And the most unhappy he looks is when he's dressed up as a white rabbit, which is interesting in a lot of ways, actually. Exactly. White Rabbit is kind of like a Matrix reference, even, and which has nothing to do with this. But
it's like an Alice in Wonderland sort of thing too, the White Rabbit in that, and and there's also the idea of renewal and rebirth when it comes to rabbits, because the whole birth thing where they used to, to test if somebody was pregnant, they would actually test it on a rabbit, and if the rabbit died, that means that you were pregnant.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. So that's why, in Walk This Way by Aerosmith and also by Run DMC, there is that song, there's that moment where it's they talk about the rabbit done died.
Yep.
That's what it's a reference to, man. So
that's the Run DMC. Also, too, when Wanda goes back into the perimeter, right? she makes it all red this time, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, like when she goes in there, she's like basically like securing the anomaly, which Darcy refers to as the hex because of its hexagonal shape.
Right.
Yeah. Hexagonal. I don't know which it would be, but anyways,
yeah, I always said hexagonal, but that's not how. It's
yeah, and she said hexagonal. I don't know if she's saying it right or if we're saying it right or if
right.
Joe Schmo's saying it right. I don't know who, but but she's referring to it as the hex. Darcy is, which is interesting. Also, some other things too from outside of Westview, because there's so much happening in this episode, guys. I mean, it's just crazy. There's a point where Darcy is given it, like I said, the name of the hex. But prior to that, Monica had said something because they were talking about needing someone to get her back into the anomaly or the hex. It's because of the they would need basically like a fortified tank of some sort to get back in,
Yeah.
And Monica says, I know an aerospace engineer who could be up for this challenge. Is it possible that she's talking about Reed Richards or one of the Fantastic Four? Or possibly Dr. Doom? Or
I hope.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be one of those, but I mean, who knows who it is. And then at one point they were talking about how people had gotten their powers, and they talked about it's brought up that Captain Marvel had gotten her powers from one of the stones as well. And when Captain Marvel was brought up, Monica didn't really care for that.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of tension there.
Yeah, so it's it's very interesting. Like, was there a falling out between her and Carol? What happened? Or has she not seen Carol since the 80s, or I mean the 90s or whatever? Sorry, not the 80s, but the 90s when the Captain Marvel movie took place.
Right. Maybe she feels betrayed because she hadn't seen her since she was like a kid or something like that. Yeah, because I saw that too. Because she goes, Wanda was, almost took out Thanos by herself without that blitz that happened, and said, no one else came close. And then James Woo's like, well, I could argue that Captain Marvel came close, and then she just had like this look on her face, like,
Yeah, because I think when and back to the thing when Wanda comes out of the hex, I think she's created a when it turned red, I think she's now made the barrier completely impregnable, so like nobody can get in at all. So that's my guess. Like, it's totally blocked off from the outside world, and I don't think they can send in drones anymore or anything, let alone people.
Right, yeah. But why would she not do that in the first place, though? That's interesting.
I know, that's interesting too. Who knows? Or maybe she didn't. Maybe she didn't think people would do anything, and then they did, and then
True. Yeah, maybe she didn't think, or maybe not. Maybe her powers are getting stronger as well. So
yeah,
each day her powers do seem to get stronger. So maybe. Also, too, when you mentioned about Agnes earlier, how Wanda just created a dog collar right in front of her, she doesn't care anymore. Doesn't seem like Agnes cares either, or finds any of this stuff strange. Like the kids became babies and 5-year-olds, and Agnes is just sitting on the countertop drinking water, going, "Kids, you can't control them, no matter how much you try." It's like,
which is interesting because earlier in the episode, Wanda had tried to control the babies and she couldn't.
Right,
and I mean, I think Agnes has got to be in on this because we still don't know who she is, and I mean, we kind of are guessing that she's Agatha Harkness, but it's hard to say. Even Wanda tells Vision that she just mentions the fact that the kid's aged 5 years and she didn't even care. When Vision is expressing his concerns about this. So it's hard to say.
Nothing Vision. Like, Wanda's become really selfish during this episode. Like, she doesn't care at all about what Vision wants or thinks about anything. Like he's just like a puppet to her, literally, even, I guess. And yeah, I'm trying to remember everything. There's so many things. Okay, so there's an interesting thing. I know we're not being very linear here, but that's okay, I guess. 'Cause
yeah,
the show is not very linear. Anyway, but
and we're assuming whoever's listening to this, you better watch the episode. And if you haven't,
yeah, hopefully you have seen.
What's the point?
Exactly. So there's this part. Only people who are like Mike and I's age or older would really get this reference without actually doing research on it, of course. But so at one point, when they let him keep the dog Sparky, and Billy or Tommy, I'm not sure which one, is like teach the dog how to do tricks and stuff like that. And then he says, "Sit, Sparky, sit, good dog." Okay, so that's a reference to the 80s. There was a company that did a lot of the shows in the 80s, like Family Ties, which this show kind of was going off of a little bit. And at the end of each episode, it would have a graphic of a dog with a frisbee in her mouth, and then a voice said, "Sit, Ubu, Ubu, sit, good dog," and it was like the guy's dog who created the company, basically.
Gary David Goldberg, the creator of Family Ties and Spin City, among other things. Yeah. Or the co-creator of Spin City with Bill Lawrence, the creator of Scrubs.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, anyways,
Right. The thing is, too, how the reason why this is significant is that so many shows had this. What's that?
Well, actually, I mean, I think it was mostly just his company, which was only a couple shows like this, and then there was a show Day by Day that had it as well.
Okay.
Which had a pre-Seinfeld Julia Louis-Dreyfus in it, and Courtney Thorne-Smith in it as well.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So and a baby Thora Birch. So yeah. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Which
That's
is a really,
cool.
really good show. Anyways, so, but yeah, I mean, he didn't do a whole lot of shows, but he did do significant ones so everybody remembers the Sit Ubu Sit.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do as a kid. Just that, I don't know what it was. Just something about it was just very, like, grabbed your attention. So that's what they did with that. That was kind of a nice little nod to that. And speaking of Sparky, though, unfortunately, Sparky dies. I think Agnes killed him, to be honest. But she says that he ate her azalea leaves, or what was it?
Azalea. Yeah,
azalea leaves, which are poisonous to dogs.
Yeah, if dogs have too much of those, they can die easily. Yeah, and I think I agree with you there. I think that Agnes did possibly either kill him or something like that to try to see if Wanda could bring him back to life, which she doesn't do. So, which is interesting because she wants to teach her kids, and she tells them not to age up at that point too. And she wants to teach them to understand grief and loss, which is really interesting because she's not doing that.
Right, it's hypocritical, or also, too, she might know deep down that she's done something wrong, and she's kind of basically living with what she's done, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just kind of funny that, she's just like, don't age up, and stuff like that. And, I mean, I did find it funny that when they were aging and they were they aged up to 10 years old, somebody said I can't remember who it was, but on the outside was saying at this rate by dinner time they're going to be empty nesters.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was I think that was James Wu, or maybe it was Darcy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was probably Jimmy that said it. It sounded like something he would say. We do have at one point another commercial. It's an ad for Legos paper towels, which is very much like an old Bounty or one of those type of commercials from the 80s. Red juice is flowing on the cabinet, which is very blood-like. The catchphrase in the ad is for when you make a mess you didn't mean to. In Captain America Civil War, Wanda had accidentally killed some people in a building in Lagos.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very symbolic of the blood from the people that she had murdered in that by mistake in Lagos, and that's the name of the paper towels, which was which the ad was narrated by a Facebook friend of mine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That was what's her name? Yeah, it was voiced over by Greg Griffin, Greg DeLise Griffin. She is a Facebook friend of mine who is primarily, I mean, she's known for a lot of voiceover work, but she's the current voice of Daphne in the Scooby-Doo animated projects.
Cool.
So, yeah. Hopefully plan to, I've talked to her already, and hopefully we'll have her on a future episode to talk about her career, so that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, she's also a musician, so check out her music. I'm just going to plug her. Anyways, So what else is happening? Anyways, like I was saying, with that ad, you know, it's very much talking about each one of these ads talks about something within her life.
Yeah,
and somebody else pointed out that each one could be symbolic of a different stone in the of the Infinity Stones too, based on colors and things of that nature that we see in each one. So, you know. Do a little bit more research on that. Maybe we'll talk about that in future episodes if we do find out. Because it could be a possibility that maybe somehow she's using her powers to recreate the Infinity Stones.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Also, too, same actress from the Hydra soap commercial.
And the same actor.
And, yeah, and people are saying that could have been her parents, actually.
They're in all the ads. Both of them are in all of the 4 ads that we've seen so far. And it's the same kids from the previous one.
Oh, okay.
Too, which are... It's interesting, too. I don't understand why it's interesting to me, but it's interesting because this is taking place in the 80s, and then prior to this, like the 70s and stuff like that, but they're interracial kids.
Yeah.
Like, are they adopted, or what?
I've noticed that. That's... Not that in particular, I didn't notice that, but I've noticed that. I'm not sure how, this is kind of a weird tangent, but I'm not sure how I feel about, it seems like a lot of shows now, when they are period pieces, they're like putting in like modern sensibilities into those shows, and they even like make jokes like about those shows, like was that comment kind of racist or whatever? And it's like, but they wouldn't have said that in that era. Anyway,
yeah, but I think but that kind of like adds on to the fact that this isn't real TV. This is
right
what Wanda's creating, and it just makes me wonder if those kids have some kind of significance. I know one of the actors who plays the kids is actually Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. So that's
okay.
Yeah, but
I mean, it very well could. I mean, that could also be Wanda. This is her reality, so she's gonna, basically have like, racial tolerance as part of her, reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like, why not? You could control everything else, so why not eliminate racism while you're at it?
Yeah, and I mean, it, and it brings me to a new theory that I think Jimmy Kimmel is Mephisto. So, wait.
Whoa! For a second, I thought you were being serious. Like,
yeah.
Is he going to be in the show?
I mean, his nephew's in the show, so why not?
It's Jimmy Kimmel himself, not playing a character. The actor Jimmy Kimmel is Mephisto.
And then that'll just validate all the idiot conservative QAnon people who hate him, who say stuff like, "Oh, he's trying to destroy the world with his jokes on TV." Wait.
Yep.
Remember when late night TV was funny?
It's like you never watched late night TV. like you weren't watching Jay Leno or David Letterman
or
or
Johnny Carson, because if you actually listen, if you watch old episodes of Johnny Carson, he's just as political in his jokes as Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers and other people are today. It's like, wake the fuck up, people.
None of these people were not non-political. Even Dick Cavett, is that his name?
Dick Cavett.
I mean, he was probably the least of them all political, but even he would like interview like Muhammad Ali a bunch of times and stuff like that.
He was actually. I mean, his show was more like a straight talk show than more than a comedy show.
Oh, okay.
So he would have he would interview everybody from politicians to sports figures to everything. Yeah, but but remember when SNL was funny? No. Anyways, it wasn't all about Donald Trump and stuff like that. And boo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Anyways, the good old days. Yep.
Yeah.
Back when they were talking about other political figures, because that's who existed then. And you weren't brainwashed by. Anyways, so I'm off on a tangent here. So let's come back, Mike. Okay. Anyways,
yeah. Reel it in.
Reel it in, Mike. Reel it in. What else did we miss here in the episode?
God, so much. I'm like writing stuff down as we talk, so I keep remembering more shit. So, speaking of the reel it in, Wanda's fish pants turned out to actually be Kevlar now. Because
nice transition.
Wearing, what's that?
Nice transition.
Oh, yeah. I like that, too. Fish pants, yeah. Reelman, she was wearing a bulletproof vest, when she came in there, and now her clothes are basically bulletproof now. So that was interesting.
Yeah, she finds out that they were bulletproof and they're, like, made of Kevlar, basically. So, which is interesting. So that means that the clothing that she went in with was manipulated. And so that basically points out the fact that Wanda isn't creating like illusions here. She's actually physically changing things. Mm-hmm. So to fit her desires at the time. So she changes people's clothing. like when we had the guy in the hazmat suit come in, and she changed his rope into like a jump rope, and she changed his outfit into a beekeeper outfit, things of that nature, and so that means that, and that's why the clothing changes on people, and it's not like an illusion; it's actually their clothing changing.
So. Right, and then she can actually, and then those clothes retain the same properties that they did before, but they're now the new clothes. So that's why Monica's pants and her shirt are now Kevlar. So Wanda could change them, but they still retain the original at least for now. I mean, her powers are growing every day, so who knows what she can do. But right now, like I said earlier, it seems like she's learning as she's going along, which kind of goes again with the theme song again, making it up as you go. So like she's getting stronger each day, and she's learning how to be more specific, exact, and how she does.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if somebody that we haven't seen yet, or if it's Agnes or somebody else, is actually training her during stuff that we don't see on the TV.
Exactly, like she could be learning, and plus too, like Monica. So this brings up a good point about what Monica said earlier, when Director Hayward was basically depicting Wanda as a terrorist, essentially, and she got radicalized by Hydra, and he just totally ignored the fact that she became an Avenger. It's like, no, she's Hydra. It's like, well, yeah, she was, but then she became an Avenger. Like, you're only focusing on one part of her history, the bad part, and Wanda says, well, she put up her own quarantine so that, she could have extended this even further, but she kept it, at Westview, so it's like, she's not all bad. I mean, if she wanted to completely take over the world, I guess she could have, but she just took over a small little town, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, she could, you know, she could have taken over the whole country, the whole world, whatever, you know. The interesting thing too is like every time I hear it too, it's like, okay, so if he turns out to be bad, Hayward is the acting director. So we're dealing with a television show with actors.
Right.
Basically. So, you know, maybe he's the acting director.
The acting, like, yeah, he's acting.
Yeah, or he's directing the acting.
Okay, yeah. I like that. Actually.
Yeah. So who knows? So, anyways, this all leads up to another scene where, towards the end, where Vision confronts Wanda about her powers and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he points out to her, like, they start arguing in the kitchen, and she tries to end the argument by running the credits in front of them.
Right.
Which I wish I could do sometimes in the real world.
I just loved, I mean, like, like, when I saw that, like, I mean, it was funny, but at the same time, like, I saw that for what it was, like, just complete dismissal of what he's saying. Like, I'm just rolling the credits on you. Like,
yeah.
You know, like he's like, no.
It's like a talk to the hand sort of thing.
Yeah.
Talk to the credits. But he's not listening, and then he goes from the kitchen and into the living room, and he turns from human form into Vision form, and they start having this big argument. They're about to, like, almost attack each other. They both fly up into the air, and but he starts questioning things, and he says, I can't remember my life before Westview. I can't remember who I am. And then he also questions things like, why are there no children in Westview? There's no other children in Westview besides Tommy and Billy. So that's interesting, because they had a whole thing in the previous episode where it was for the children. And, yeah, so it was obviously for these children, not any other children. So we get, right after that happens, I mean, they're sitting on the couch, and she's admitting too. She's like, do you think I'm controlling everything? You know, am I controlling when people walk their dogs or go to a dentist appointment and all this other stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you might be.
Or maybe, at the very least, she might have an algorithm for other people.
Yeah. But
then directly controlling who she's physically in the presence of. You know, so.
And then there's a ring at the doorbell, and she said that she didn't do that, and they go to answer the door, and at the door is Pietro, but it's not the MCU Pietro. It's the Fox X-Men Pietro, Evan Peters. Not Aaron Taylor Howard, you know. So it's interesting that we got the different actor, and he's doing this over the top, like, kind of almost New York accent.
Right.
Like, well, I was gonna squeeze my he says, can I squeeze my sister to death or something like that, you know.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
The death. Like.
And then he notices Vision, and so I do believe that before the real Pietro died in Age of Ultron, he had met Vision.
Oh, he did?
I think so. I'm not sure though. But either way, this guy says, "Who's the popsicle?" Which, you know, sometimes popsicle could mean somebody frozen or dead. So.
So I didn't interpret that way. I thought because he was red.
Yeah.
Like, but you're probably right, because of before when she saw his gray body and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like.
So I'm thinking that might be it. Do you want to take a quick break here, Matt, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about that reveal, and then we'll also talk about some of the trivia and stuff for this episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Ninja from the Ask the Angry Ninja Show saying, come listen to the show. We got the Ninja Wife to give you your movie reviews. We got the Conscript to give you the Ninja News. And we got the Battle to talk about your sports. And as always, it is the Ask the Angry Ninja Show. So ask me a question. We'll give you the ninja knowledge you need for your ninja life. Search for us anywhere you get your podcast from. Just search for the Ask the Angry Ninja Show and enjoy the show.
And we are back. Okay, so so we got that big reveal there. Like people said in the that I mentioned at the beginning of the show are saying, I think this could be implying. It could be implying some interesting things, such as a multiverse, or possibly, I don't know what else it could be doing. I mean, there's a possibility that he's not even there. A lot of people, because when he comes in and they find out that it is, Darcy does point out. She says she recast Pietro. So that was interesting. I do think it could be a multiverse. It could be possibly that he's just Evan Peters and he got brought into Westview and he's playing her brother.
Right, exactly.
He could just be an actor that we know in the real world, and
right. It could be that, yeah, just totally messing with us.
Yeah. Or he could be. He's not even Pietro or Peter or somebody or Quicksilver from another universe. He could just be. Possibly he's Mephisto. Possibly he's the Grim Reaper. He could be anybody.
He could be. It could just be like someone. Because at first she knows it's not really her brother. Like she.
Yeah, she has that reaction, like, you look different, sort of thing.
So, it could have been, like I was thinking before, this could have been her attempt to bring her brother back to life, and then maybe for a split second she was thinking of the word Quicksilver, and then so then it brought in another Quicksilver. Usually, I don't know if that's, because usually, like, she knows Pietro as her brother, not as Quicksilver. So
because they've never been given nicknames in any of these.
Right. So I would imagine she wouldn't be thinking of his superhero alter ego. She would be thinking of his actual person. So that I kind of crossed that theory off. I'm like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So you could either just be the actor playing him just to kind of mess with the audience a little bit, or the multiverse. But then again, if it is a multiverse, then it's going to have weird implications, because that's basically then implying that the X-Men don't live on the same Earth as the Avengers do. So that's kind of.
But that could be how we bring them into this universe too. Maybe there's
True.
maybe they combine all the universes like they did on the Arrowverse,
right?
or something of that nature. Yeah,
very true, yeah.
or some people pop over and stay. Yeah, they could be. I mean, it could be like they're from a different Earth or something. But it could also be that they are being brought into this Earth. Who knows what's going on? Or maybe, like I said before, maybe it's just an actor.
Yeah.
Or some other Westview citizen that she decided to make her brother.
Right.
I don't know. You said you noticed something. You were telling me earlier that you noticed something in the mirror during this scene.
Yeah. So I saw this in the video on YouTube. It was pretty shaky, so it's not. But it looks like the mirror is kind of like all fuzzy, like you can't really see who's like on the other side. Like it's like almost like a shadow. It doesn't really look like Pietro. And then it does look like there's like some gray looking thing, kind of like an arm, but it could just be like a shadow because like the person did kind of like an artistic rendering to make it look like an arm. So
yeah,
but it did look like something was like either pulling that Pietro in or guiding him in or something. So if that is the case, then that could definitely be something like, oh, maybe this is Mephisto or someone pretending to look like someone else, to get inside the house because, maybe Vision's asking too many questions, type of thing. Like,
yeah.
Because Agnes, if it is Mephisto, it would be because I think if they are going the Agnes and Agatha and Ralph Mephisto route, Agatha is definitely the quote good cop of the. I mean, she's not good, but in the exchange, she is kind of like the good cop, and Mephisto is the bad cop. So
yeah,
right now Agnes has basically been playing good cop, like play along, and okay, Vision's asking too many questions. Now we're going to send in the big guns. Like.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I mean, I think in our real world too, it's kind of a metaphor for like when they recast somebody on a show, like like Aunt Viv on Fresh Prince or something like that, or the Darrens on Bewitched or something, and then they just don't even mention really. I mean, they might have an in thing or something, or like the two Beckys on Roseanne, where they talk about it, but they sometimes do it as a joke, but. They also have the whole sometimes there's on these shows where they just recast and they don't even mention that it's a different actor.
Right.
So here's some, do you want to listen to some trivia here, Matt, before we go?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, during the Sword briefing, news footage taken from previous MCU films is attributed to WHIH World News, the fictional news network in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which has been used to promote some of the films in its own web series, WHIH Newsfront, and was previously featured in the TV series set in the MCU.
Oh, wow.
In the various TV series. Okay, the sudden growth of the twins, Tommy and Billy, is a reference to how on sitcoms, infants grow at an unrealistic rate. Notable example would be Growing Pains, which featured an infant, Chrissy Seaver, who in the course of just 2 seasons was old enough to attend school. So,
wow.
Yeah. We find out in this episode that Wanda was born in 1989, which is the same year that Elizabeth Olsen was born. So, yeah.
Wow.
There's a reference in the opening, like I said, to Full House, where you see them picnicking on the grass, and there's also like some of the camera angles and stuff that are very similar to the openings to Full House. Right at the beginning, Vision had joked about reading one of the twins, Charles Darwin's Descent of Man. Paul Bettany had played Charles Darwin in the film Creation, which tells the story of Darwin's development of his theory of evolution.
Wow.
Several of the newspaper articles detailing the Novi Grad bombings feature real-life photographs of the siege of Sarajevo. An almost 4-year siege that started the Bosnian War and claimed the lives of more than 13,000 civilians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a war that doesn't really get talked about a lot, but it was really bad.
The episode's title is on a very special episode, which refers to the 80s sitcom trope that dealt with controversial issues such as racism, sexism, abuse, teenage pregnancy, and death, much of which actually appear in this episode. Evan Peters appearing as Pietro is an homage to him playing Quicksilver in the 20th Century Fox X-Men film series. Both X-Men studios had an agreement at the time that to use both Peter and Wanda if they wanted to, since both were X-Men and Avengers, but the condition that they could not make references to the other studio's properties. The Fox films could not mention them as members of the Avengers, while the Marvel films could not mention them as mutants or children of Magneto. Since Disney acquired 20th Century in 2009, this agreement no longer stands. So we could have that crossover multiverse sort of thing, which, makes sense because we're leading into the multiverse of madness, as people have pointed out.
Yeah.
And this is the first major crossover between a non-MCU Marvel film and a MCU property. It is the second time this has happened, though, because you do have J. Jonah Jameson appear in Spider-Man: Far From Home, but he looks different and stuff. But he's played by the same actor, so. Played by J.K. Simmons in that. That was my own little commentary there. I just remembered. So as I was reading this, okay, the appearance of Pietro Maximoff at the end is a dig at several established tropes. Pietro being recast is a reference to several sitcoms at the time in which characters are recast, like I was saying, like Becky from the sitcom Roseanne.
Yeah.
And also his appearance after after Wanda rolled the credits is also a reference to how Marvel films often include a post-credit scene. So, anyways, this yeah, and that's all I got right now. Any speculation or anything for next week?
Next week, yeah, because they already showed like a little bit of like a preview or whatever, and it looks like next week's going to be the Halloween episode.
Yeah,
and Vision is like waking up like more people, I guess, in the town to like let them know what's going on, and he actually wakes up Agnes, and who knows if Agnes is just playing along and whatever, but like she's kind of driving her car in like almost like a trance-like state. And he like touches her head, and she kind of like, gasps, and like, she's like, "Am I dead?" And he's like, "No. Why would you ask that?" And she's like, "'Cause you are." And then like she does like this weird cackling laugh, but I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I mean, it could be editing and stuff to make it seem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, and then like, it seems like maybe Wanda is kind of got Vision back under her control again, because it says like, this is our home, and he's like, well, we better fight for it then. So it's like, okay, so is he back on board? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, or did something happen that makes him be, who knows what's happening? Right. I hate to speculate anything because anything could happen. Right. There are a lot of things that I think are leading to the fact it's got to be Mephisto coming in. I mean, we've had a lot of lot of clues to that, but we could all be wrong, and it could be somebody completely different. I read some weird theories online. One of the theories is that about Evan Peters is that he's actually a grown up Tommy or Billy.
Oh, okay.
Somehow. But like from the future or something, and I'm just like, okay, why?
Right.
So there's weird theories out there.
There is, but also I just thought it was something. So like they had a longer type of preview that was going for like the next few episodes.
Yeah,
and it actually shows Wanda in like a gown, almost like she's like in a lab, and she's smiling. But she's smiling in the same way at the end of episode 4 when she's like, "What shall we watch, honey?" And then like Vision looks kind of uncomfortable, and then he kind of like does like this awkward smile, and then he follows her. Well, it had Wanda giving that exact kind of smile, but like it looked like she was in like a white room in like a lab. So that could be a whole other thing. That might not actually even be Wanda. That could be like another body, and then Wanda is like being told to control that body. So the real physical Wanda might not even be there. You know, I don't know.
Who knows what's going on?
So it looked like she was in like a lab or something like that, and so she could be being she herself could be being controlled to some extent, and then but yet she also feels like she's the one doing the controlling. It's very bizarre. So yeah. We could like talk about this for hours.
I know. There's a lot of ways it could go. Let us know what you think's going to happen next. What you thought of this episode, and what you think of what you think the future holds. Or what you thought of previous episodes, and we'll talk about it in the next episode if you leave us a comment on any of our social medias. So check out our Facebook and all of our other social media places. If you have anything you want to send us, you can send it to me at mike@cullenpark.com. If you like this episode, be sure to check out our other episodes where we talk about movies and we have interviews and things of that nature. The latest episode that we just released this week was the Addams Family Reunion review that we did on our Direct from Hell series. So you would enjoy that. It's a very funny episode. But until next time, be sure to wear a mask, wear a condom. Wait. Why do I keep saying that, Matt?
I don't know.
No. I'm just saying that you don't want to have any children that accidentally grow to be 5 years old in one day. And, because that happens in the real world.
Yeah.
Yes. So, wear a condom. And, wear a mask. And, until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.